As a family-owned five-star company here in Lancaster County, we can't be that company without five-star partners. So we've curated amazing product with amazing companies that are family-owned too, where our customer is their customer. We don't deal with big bank-owned companies where shareholder profit is their first and only priority. You, our customer, are our partner's priority, so you get to wake up happy right here in Lancaster County.
Double deals, savings events happening now.
You're listening to the Bulldog Hour, getting you inside the Wilson football program with weekly game previews, recaps, highlights, and interviews. Now, here are your hosts, Joe Mays and Justin Raffoff.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Bulldog Hour. I am one of your hosts, Joe Mays. Here with me, as always, is my co-host, Justin Raffoff.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
And we are celebrating another victory, Justin. This is number 5 on the season. We're at the same pace, same like deja vu from 2024. I'd be pretty okay if the next 4 weeks went the same way as 2024 did as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
But this one's extra sweet because we are celebrating something special that you only get to do, every year, hopefully. I mean, it's happened a lot. It's a pretty frequent occasion, usually only once a year. Hate when it doesn't happen at all. But
thankfully, we haven't had that for a while.
Right,
now.
It got to happen this year, and obviously we're referencing once again the Bulldogs emerging victorious from a game against neighbor rival, the Governor Mifflin Mustangs. Wilson gets the victory, 42-10 at Gursky Stadium, which was nice to be there. It was a beautiful night for football.
Yeah, it is kind of nice getting to some of the pictures of just like the background, the sunset and all that stuff. Man, that was absolutely ridiculous. Reminds me of like the picture from a few years ago that I think Reading Eagle got. I know you got some of that too. But
against Warwick in 2017.
Yeah, beautiful setting, and the outcome ended up being pretty beautiful too.
Yeah, exactly. And we're going to get into it. We're going to recap the entire thing. But honestly, Justin, I feel like the game went the way a lot of the games this year have gone so far, that it never really, all the wins didn't really ever feel in doubt, but it felt like just couldn't quite put together a perfect performance.
Yeah. I would say it was far from perfect. I would say it's a little more polished than what we saw in some of the earlier games in the year. And despite their struggles the last few weeks, I mean, you're going to get the absolute best shot from Mifflin. That they're really geared up. They're going to want to win this game. I know we may talk about this, but a couple of they had been missing some guys, and some guys were able to come back for this game. I don't know. We say it to the kids when they're getting ready that you have to be prepared, because forget the fact that they lost last week. Forget the fact that they might seem like they're down a little bit. You can't think any of that, because if you do for an instant, they're good enough that they're going to be right there and maybe they'll beat you.
And I know that was a focal point of Coach Dom's preparation for this game was, when it's a rivalry game, you put the records aside, put the stats aside, anything can happen. And we've seen both teams over the course of the last, more than that, almost 70 years, since the game was first played, especially if you're counting the ones against Shillington High, sometimes that stuff doesn't matter. The more athletic or the better team on paper doesn't get it done on the field, because there's so much emotion and intensity for this matchup. So we're going to dive into all of it. We're going to talk about everything, the highs and the lows, and then we'll prepare for next week's game down in Landisville, take on Hempfield. Yep. But first, I want to thank the sponsors of our 11th season here at the Bulldog Hour, and start off at the top with Maze Sandwich Shop, website ordermaze.com. For my dad, my sister, and myself, check us out at 2525 Penn Avenue in West Lawn. Been here since day one and appreciate the support as always. Next up, Jeff Janakovo and Gardner's Mattress and More. Gardner'sMattressandMore.com is the website. You can check them out closer to where we're heading to this week.
Yeah, exactly. I was telling Joe, I was like, man, this week, that 222 traffic can be a little hectic. So if you have the opportunity, leave a little early, and you can check out all the things, the and more, or the mattresses if you need it. You can just stop at Gardner's Mattress and More and check it out. Tell them Jeff sent you.
That's right. Let them know.
Yeah, but it would be a great opportunity. You're going to go essentially right by it anyway, so why not leave yourself a little extra time and stop in there and check out what they've got.
And that's Lancaster Online's Reader's Choice winner, Gardner's Mattress and More in Lancaster. Thanks also to Steve at S&S Mechanical, ssfirstmechanical.com. Check them out for your HVAC needs. S&S Mechanical, again, thanks to Steve Simons for the support of the Bulldog Hour here in 2025. Up next, Eric Weiser and ericweiserhomes.com, local realtor with Berkshire Hathaway Home Sale Realty. You got his contact information up there on the screen for you if you're watching. If not, check out his website, ericweiserhomes.com. Thank you so much for the support here, Eric. And once again, our buddy Mike Drago at MikeDragosports.com, covering the Bulldogs for decades now, just like football and previously basketball for Red and Eagle, and now his own venture, MikeDragosports.com, where you can see my pictures and my pretty fantastic Friday football picks. I'm right near the top again. I actually don't know the results for this week yet, but I think I was in a 3-way tie entering the weekend, so I'm excited to be maybe grabbing that crown back after a 1-year hiatus. But thanks to Mike, and be sure to start your subscription at MikeDragosports.com today. On top of all of those, we want to thank the Miller family, Andy Herr, the Challenger family, and our 2 anonymous donors. We appreciate all the support, and it does make this show become bigger and better, which is always our hopes each year, Justin.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I did not change that, so we'll have to change that because the next live show is obviously happening right now, but there will be a live show next weekend as well, and I just apparently overlooked.
You mean this Sunday or next Sunday?
Yeah, let's. There we go. October 5th, the next live show for the Bulldog Hour will be a week from right now.
That'll be crazy because that'll be post-week 7 game.
And we'll be in October with only 3 regular season games to go.
We are in your burrs.
Yeah, we had the favorite time of the year, but unfortunately one of them's coming to an end. And then honestly, I get so excited for these last 4 months, but then when one of them ends, I'm like, oh, it's over. We're done. Might as well pack it up. It's basically January. So Game 6 home versus Mifflin. We're going to talk about that here shortly and preview the Game 7 away at Hempfield. So Justin, Governor Mifflin came in 2-3, had lost I believe two in a row or 2 out of 3 coming in. They were suffering from some injuries. They did have an exciting victory a few weeks ago against Hempfield, who Wilson will be playing next week. They won a 1-point game, 20-19. They blocked a field goal to secure that victory. Lost last week to Muhlenberg. It was their first loss to the Mules since I believe 2003.
Yeah,
it was like 22, 23 years since Muhlenberg had last beat Governor Mifflin. The Mustangs have just been struggling ever since Nick Singleton took his talents to State College after the 2021 football season. It's been an average team. They're like 4 to 6 wins is where they've been hovering around. They haven't had sustained excellence in the last few years, but like we said, it's a rivalry game. We don't know what's going to happen. Wilson won big the last few years, multi-score victories, and we're hoping for the same thing in 2025. And honestly, the way it started very quickly, it looked like that's what was going to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. It was one of those things where you couldn't ask for a better start to the game for Wilson.
Right.
I don't know if Mifflin won the toss and elected to receive, or if Wilson won and deferred. Like I don't know. But Wilson kicks off to start the game, and kind of like an in between kind of kick. It wasn't super deep, but it wasn't super short either. But it was at a weird spot. Some of the guys who aren't necessarily expecting to get high kickoff to them, and it kind of bounced around, and the Wilson was able to jump on it and get the ball right off the start.
Yeah, and I believe it was
awesome.
Aiden Harmon that may have come up with
I
that.
believe so.
I know I saw Cole Peterson celebrating. I got a good pic of him jumping up and down, celebrating the recovery. I wasn't sure who it was, but Tradition Club President Barry Aiello was able to track that down with PA announcer Kevin Venino, who remembered calling Aiden's name. So great job by the kickoff team to first execute that kick and then properly run down the field and cover it. We're going to be showing some video here tonight, and that is compliments of our buddy Paul Roberts, SV Sports and BurkeSportsReport.com. Appreciate him sending these our way so that we can, you don't have to just look at our beautiful faces the whole time.
Yeah.
We can get some real highlights from the game. Now, following that onside, well, essentially a kickoff recovery, it wasn't really onsides, but it was a perfectly executed attempt to, maybe kick it to a soft spot. That is a tough place to get to.
To me, that looked like something they saw on film.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they saw that, maybe these guys retreat right away, or they do this or that. I don't know. Or maybe there's just a big gap in the lineup. That looks exactly like they saw something on film and exploited it immediately.
Coaches saw it, the coaches taught it, and the players executed it to
you love it when that works.
Yeah, when it goes the way you want it to, beautiful things happen. And then, well, pretty quickly, Wilson got on the board. Mason Young to Jaden Carpenter, outside screen pass, and you can see Carpenter using his speed and vision to weave through the Mifflin defense, get in for 6. Extra point good from Preston Oxenrider, and that would be the Bulldogs' first touchdown of the night, certainly not their last. However, we would not be calling the same person's name more than once, and we'll get to that as we weave through these highlights. But overall, a very good start for the Bulldogs, offensively, special teams. Then it was the defense's turn, and they struggled a little bit on this first series. They bent. They didn't completely break. They didn't give up a touchdown.
No.
They eventually forced a field goal, but they're giving up too many yardage to Mifflin's rushing attack. And they just couldn't quite get off the field. It took some time. It was a nice long drive. Let me see if I can pull up my stat sheet here and go over it completely. So it was, after the one-play Wilson touchdown that covered 31 yards, Eli Dean kicked it off, and Stewart returned it to their own 23, and then it would be a 14-play, 70-yard drive taking up 6 minutes and 58 seconds. So essentially a 7-minute drive, which we often joke about. That's more than half a quarter.
Yeah.
That we talk about, when Wilson's in a tight game, maybe we're winning, or we need a drive to score points at the end of the game, but we also want to eat up clock. Hey, let's go on a 7-minute drive. That's what Mifflin did.
Perfect example. Like, Wilson scored in 13 seconds, and if you're Mifflin, how do you calm things down? You hold the ball and get points on the board over the next 6 minutes. You say, like, not so fast. We're going to try and change the pace of this game back to what they want, which is kind of like slower, methodical. We're going to grind this out. We're going to control the clock. And, again, this isn't just hindsight. We could have told you this from the start. How is Mifflin going to help defend against the skill players that Wilson has right now? By not letting Wilson have the ball. Like, if Wilson doesn't have the ball, those skill offensive players, It's hard to score points.
Your best defense is a grinded out offense.
Right.
Hog that football, and that's what Mifflin did on this first drive after Wilson scored really quickly off of a Mifflin special teams miscue. So the highlight for the Mustangs on this big 14-play drive was Patrick Stewart's 29-yard rush from the Wilson 31 that got it down to the Bulldogs' 2-yard line.
Well, and that was really, really good play to track it down because he could have scored there. But I did not catch who made that tackle.
I did.
Okay.
No, that might have been a later one.
Okay,
then.
But it was like right down the side, and someone made the tackle, like at the 2, and then Wilson was able to hold to the field goal. And that was.
Yeah, so
like that's it. It's not as flashy as the hustle play that Carp had, in the Nazareth game, but it was a similar effect in the sense of like catching it and like it was huge.
It was actually the person I was thinking of was Chase Herb, and then I was like, oh no, I think that was one later. I said he delivered a huge hit as the guy was about to go on the score, but that wasn't this play. That was later. However, it was also Chase Herb on this play that chased him down the sideline and tackled him and forced him out of bounds at the 2. The Wilson defense would hold on this first Mifflin drive. First, Patrick Stewart was tackled by Brownback and Frable to force the ball back to the 5-yard line. Then LeBron Leaf threw an incompletion that was defended by Cole Peterson. And finally, Lance Koenig went out for a 24-yard field goal. Got Mifflin on the board. So, we're bummed. They drove down the field easily.
Right.
I mean, it took time, but at no point did it really feel like they were in danger of turning the ball over. They were getting chunk yardage on first and second down. They never got into a third and long at all the entire drive. They faced first down, second and 6, first down, second and 10, first and 10, second and 8, second and 13. Not great, but they immediately got a first down. So they never were forced into third and long. They never had to opt to go for it on fourth and short or anything like that. So that wasn't great, but things happen. It's early in the game. You got to settle down. The unfortunate thing was that Wilson wasn't able to do anything on offense the next series, and that's when you start to think, okay, here's that rivalry game that we talk about.
Right.
Like Wilson is better than Mifflin. We know this, but right now we're not executing properly.
Right.
Wilson went 3 plays for minus 18 yards. Of course, penalties will do that. However, the defense stood tall, played better on the second series, only gave up 7 yards and forced a punt. And that would be where the quarter would end on Wilson's next offensive possession, their third of the game. Thankfully, as the second quarter got underway, it would be a great offense for the Bulldogs here, and we started to see the passing game click. And let's take a look at how the Bulldogs scored touchdown number 2, courtesy of Paul Roberts and SV Sports. All right, so as you heard, and we'll let it play here as we talk, that would be Mason Young connecting with sophomore Damian Greer on a nice pass down the middle, and then a good course correction from him. Great downfield blocking, too, by Mike Glover, and Eli Dean was there as well.
Were, like escorting him in.
Yep, say, come with me, we got you covered.
Right.
I believe, was that 64 yards?
It was a long way.
64-yard touchdown from Mason Young to Damian Greer. Preston Oxenrider, the freshman place kicker, was good, and Wilson is now up 14-3. The Bulldogs defense would eventually end a Mustang threat on 4th and 8. LeBron Leaf rushed for 6 yards, was forced out of bounds pretty close to the sticks, it looked like. I believe, despite the Mifflin protests on their side, because it happened on their sideline, the refs believe his foot hit the out-of-bounds mark before he reached the ball out. Because from our vantage point on our sideline, I thought when he reached the ball out, he had gotten it. But I think he had stepped on the sideline before he had extended the ball. So Wilson got the ball back, and it would be another very, very quick score. I'll have to see if I have this one here somewhere.
But But yeah, so it was clear that the defense had settled down, and that was key because you don't want your defense out there for these 6-minute drives, over and over again. Excuse me. And then you also you want to keep putting points up each time because that if you're able to kind of take and force Mifflin's hand a little bit to maybe speed things up and have them so that they don't want to take 6-minute drives, or make it harder for them to have the 6-minute drives, that's even better. So these quick strikes from Wilson were great as long as the defense can keep up their end of the bargain because you keep sending them out there. So,
yeah. So I don't seem to have the one to Mike. Here's the Damian one again. Let's see if it pops up in this overall highlight here that Paul posted. But it was a big touchdown pass. Yeah, here it is. You're going to see it right on the screen.
I told Mike I thought he was about to stiff arm this guy, and instead he just
he
turns
really
on
turned
the Jets
on the Jets.
and just outruns the. Yeah,
excellent job by Mason
to
Young.
See his speed. That's a big guy flying down the field like that.
The play call, the execution by both Mason and Mike, and then Mike really, like you said, you thought the guy was going to catch up to him, and he was going to have to use his strength to throw him down. No, he turned on the speed and extended his path to the end zone there. So great execution all around, great play by the Wilson offense to make it 21-3. Bulldogs at that point. Again, that was a one-play drive. Wilson started it with a delay of game penalty, and then Mifflin had a timeout. But when all is said and done from the Wilson 26, Young immediately found Glover for 74 yards. Preston's kick was good, 21-3 now. A 12-second, so it was a 10-second touchdown on the first drive, a 12-second touchdown a few drives later here in the second quarter. Eli Dean kicked off, and Wilson was able to get another fourth down stop as we got closer and closer to halftime. So 2:15 left in the second quarter, and the Bulldogs were able to stop LeBron Leaf, who rushed for 1 yard, but Mike Glover and Matthew Wyatt, who has really come onto the scene the last 2 weeks or so, playing inside linebacker next to E.J. Brownback. He was flying around, so him and Glover get the stop on Leaf to turn over the Mustangs. Bulldogs get the ball back, and within 3 plays, they're in the end zone again. This one is this the I can't believe that just happened one from Mason to Eli? Is that this one?
I thought that was the last one.
Well, this one has oh no, this is Aking's touchdown.
Yeah,
okay.
They get down close.
Yeah, so I do have that one. Let me pull that one up. All right, yeah. So Wilson starts the drive. 2:09 left in the second quarter. Corell Akings rushes for 11 yards to the Governor Mifflin 23. Mason Young then completes a pass to Elijah Dean. There it is for 21 yards to get Corell set up for a 2-yard rush. And let's check out that video from Paul Roberts. So that one, I believe, a lot of people were curious about the Mifflin decision to go for it on fourth down because of the time of the game. You know, Wilson's up 21-3. You need a spark, but you're on your own side of the field. Right. You haven't moved the ball much since that first series. I know there were questions of should they have gone for it on 4th and 2 from their own 33.
Right.
Like they were deep in their own territory.
And then for me, kind of doubling in on that interest was then when they get the ball back, there's not a ton of time left, but they just run it out.
Yeah.
They run one play, right?
So
2 plays.
Wilson scored went 34 yards in 48 seconds. Elijah Dean kicked the ball off to the Governor Mifflin 10. They started with 1:13, and then they just ran it with Kalis for 3. Stewart loses 1, and that was it. They let it go to halftime.
Yeah.
Wilson leading 28-3.
Right. So, like, to have the desperation, the seeming desperation of going for it early, relatively early from your own 33, to then get the ball back and be like, you know what, we're just going to take this. Maybe it's we don't want to make a mistake worse by doing it again. We don't want it to be another touchdown. But, like, at the same time, it's not halftime yet, and
No.
are you going to concede this? Like we've already established that your defense or your offense is mostly a grinded out offense. Yes, you might need to, like in this situation, maybe you'd have to try and speed things up, but you never know. I don't know. It was an interesting, set of decisions. I don't have to make those decisions, and thankful that I don't have to make those decisions.
Right. Yeah.
So, like, I get it, and who knows? Maybe maybe they didn't feel like the personnel could do it at that point. Like, I know, I said to you at one point on one of the fourth down stops. I do not know which one, but fourth down stops. We stopped them on fourth and whatever, and we get the ball back. It appeared. Now maybe I missed something, but it appeared they only subbed one guy. Like,
right, a lot of two-way guys.
10 of the guys on the field at that moment stayed on the field. And I get that that's what you got to do sometimes, but man, 6A football, that's going to kind of
drain you
really quick.
By the fourth quarter, you're going to be
right.
drained, absolutely. So second half didn't get started. It wasn't great. We didn't see a perfect offensive performance as we have been used to there in the first half. By and large, Wilson got the ball to start, but 5 plays, 13 yards, couldn't get much going. Chase Herb punted it away. Mifflin started to drive down the field. It's 28-3, but hey, you give them some momentum if they get a score here. You don't know what can happen. We talked about the rivalry game, but so Mifflin starts at their own 40. And all of a sudden, they get down to the Wilson 17, where LeBron Leaf rushes for 5 yards to the 12. And on the next play, Nick Kalis rushes for 7 yards to the 5, gets the first down. And now they're knocking on the door. They're ready to put up 6 points. And on the following play, this is the one I was talking about earlier. LeBron Leaf passes to Murray, and then on 2nd and goal from the 5, Nick Kalis rushes for 4 yards, and he was about to score. I was standing right in the end zone taking photos, and on that 2nd and goal play from the 5, Kalis is inches away from getting into the end zone, and like a missile coming across the field, Chase Herb lit him up and hit him in the perfect way to prevent him from reaching the ball out and falling into the end zone.
Right.
And he saved the touchdown. And we've seen that happen before, and that's great. We could throw back to Carpenter causing that fumble against Nazareth, because you never know what's going to happen on the next play.
Right.
And that's the thing. Oh, well, they're at the 1-inch line. They're going to score anyways, right? You don't know that. So you have to give full effort every single play because you never know what's going to happen. So Chase Herb coming in and saving Kalis from getting in on that play. Well, guess what happened when that play was over? Governor Mifflin got an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty. It moved him back.
And we've seen this multiple times over the last couple of years. And I remember distinctly last year, Coach Wolber saying it, and then I heard him reference it this year, and I've heard the players kind of reference it. It's the, like, give us an inch, give us, you give us a chance, or something along those lines. And, like, man, I'm watching that play unfold, and I'm like, oh, they're going to get in. And then you just see Chase fly up and just level. And again, this isn't I'll hit and we can fall in. No, you've got to hit him and finish the tackle in a way that he can't reach the ball out or do. And that's exactly what he did. He came up and popped him. And that kind of just set the tone there.
And then I don't know what was said or happened, but Mifflin got the unsportsmanlike penalty. So instead of facing 3rd and goal from the 1, they had 3rd and goal from the 16. And what happened on that very next play, on 3rd and goal from the 16, LeBron Leaf threw a pass in the direction of the right end zone or right corner of the end zone, and it was intercepted by Corell Akings.
On a ridiculous catch.
Yes.
Like, absolutely ridiculous.
In the moment, and I haven't seen great video of it yet, I thought when he came down, the ball came loose.
So I was watching through the screen, and I was like, oh my gosh, but I couldn't see the detail of it. I was zoomed in as far as I can, but you know how the video
it
gets
almost
when you
looks
zoom
like
in.
when he comes down, the ball rolls down his arm before he pulls it back in. Because live, I thought it was rolling on the ground. But
Right,
then
right.
I saw it, and it's grainy and choppy. But I think that's because there was no real like hesitation. They immediately signaled touchback.
Okay.
Like there was no debate about it in terms of the officiating. So Akings gets the interception. Bulldogs start over. A little bit of a miscommunication or some kind of issue on the first play after that interception, and the Bulldogs turn it over on their own interception back to the Mustangs, who do drive down the field this time and get the score to cut it to 28-10. So at this point, you're like, oh man, we just can't keep the momentum.
Right. I'm not concerned, but I'm ready for the game to be done. And also, was this all still in the third quarter?
Yes.
Like,
this was
and
still
I
the third
remember
quarter,
being
yes.
like, this is the long.
It's
third
a long
quarter.
third quarter, yeah. So Mifflin's drive started with 6:11 to go in the third, and they eventually scored just a few plays later. It was only a 4-play, 42-yard drive, 2.5 minutes, and it was a LeBron Leaf touchdown pass to Joe Murray to get the Mustangs on the board or in the end zone for the first time. The extra point was good, 28-10. And then the Bulldogs, that kind of woke them up, I think, because they were ready to go. They went on their own drive covering 60 yards over 6 plays. And this one, a focal point was Monty Greer. So we saw little brother Damien get in the end zone earlier, but it was Monty's turn this time, and he rushed, I think, was it 5 consecutive plays? Correll took the first one for 5.
It looked like the same play, and they're just like, we're getting chunks?
So this is the one where Corell scored, but it was called back because of holding,
yes,
and he had run like all over the field.
Yes.
So he needed a breather.
Ridiculous run.
Yeah, I mean, he looked like he was stopped, and all of a sudden he squirts through and is running around the field, gets in the end zone, but there was a penalty for, I believe it was holding.
I believe every holding call came when we ran to the west side of the stadium.
To the Mifflin sideline.
Yes. Maybe that's the east side of the stadium. But
so
yeah.
Akings needs a break because he ran.
Did not matter which way we were going on the field, by the way.
Right.
So you can figure that out.
So Akings needed a break. Monty Greer comes in, and he carries the ball 5 straight times, culminating with a trip of his own to the end zone. Let's take a look. Now, one of these runs or this series was actually aided on one of Monty's carries by a illegal hit to the helmet, leading with the helmet.
Yes.
And it was quite the hit.
Yeah,
it was quite the hit with the helmet. And the ref on the Wilson sideline threw it immediately upon seeing it. I don't think so. In my vantage point from the camera, there were 2 Mifflin defenders closing in. LeBron Leaf was one of them. I believe it was the linebacker that initiated the hit in front of him. I don't know who it was. It doesn't really matter. Monty was okay. He continued to run, like I said, I think 6 rushes in a row. The last one was a 13-yarder, as you're watching here, again, courtesy of Paul Roberts and SV Sports. Monty Greer gets into the end zone, and the Bulldogs extend their lead to 35-10.
You might be seeing a theme here, though, with the touchdown scorers.
Yes. If you're keeping track, that is 5 Wilson touchdowns, 5 different student athletes finding pay dirt, and it wouldn't be the last score of the night either. And I already spoiled it a little. I mentioned it. I was thinking, I thought that was later in the game, but I was misreading the stat sheet here. So the Bulldogs, it wasn't quite the end of the third quarter. There was only about a minute to go in the third quarter when Monty got in. Eli kicks it off. Mifflin starts. They face 4th and 3 on the last play of the third quarter, and LeBron Leaf got 2 yards, needed 3, and Mike Glover and E.J. Brownback stopped him short. So to start the fourth quarter, Wilson would have the ball back, leading 35-10. At this point now, you're like, all right, well, the game is pretty much in hand. You're up by 25, but let's finish strong, and that's what the Bulldogs offense did. 11 plays and 51 yards, 4:10 off the clock. Wilson gets into the end zone again to go up 42-10. Corell Akings did a lot in the middle part of this drive, but it started and ended with the arm of Mason Young, although he was definitely aided on this one by his legs.
This was crazy.
Let me see if I can pull it up here. This one is going to be coming from WEEU, who also had coverage of the game, a broadcast. And I am
Yeah,
finding it. Here we go. Let's.
This is just.
Young is looking to throw for it again. He's going to get pounded in the backfield. Somehow he got out of that. Still on his feet, looks and finds a receiver in the end zone. Touchdown, Bulldogs.
I will play it for you shortly. Here, I need to get the video synced here with the audio, and I'm having a tough time doing that. So let me.
It was one of those where I gasped because. Man, they had a free pass rusher, and I thought he was going to get smoked.
Yeah, here we go.
It felt like the
Young
other
is looking to throw
side.
for it again. He's going to get pounded in the backfield. Somehow he got out of that. Still on his feet, looks and finds a receiver in the end zone. Touchdown, Bulldogs.
All right, so I'm going to let that play, but we're going to talk.
Yeah, again, free rusher up the middle, and how he doesn't get just blown up. To avoid that, to not get blown up would have been a headsy play, to kind of move in a way where you're able to hold on to the ball. To then shake it off and somehow keep your feet is just unbelievable. Then you roll out and you find a receiver and make a great throw and find him. That's just.
I think that's Mifflin's best player too. That's Dylan Worley.
Right.
Who returned for this game after missing the Muhlenberg game injured, and he was their big time. I believe he was first team all league as a guard.
Yeah,
plays linebacker. Obviously, it was quite the play. Yeah. I'm gonna let it run through one more time. Then I'm gonna turn the audio back on because I love to listen to Bob McCool's call of this. Again, WEEU 8:30 a.m.
Young is looking to throw for it again. He's going to get pounded in the backfield. Somehow he got out of that. Still on his feet, looks and finds a receiver in the end zone. Touchdown, Bulldogs.
So, that was a fun one. I appreciate the WEU being there and covering the game alongside Wilson Media Productions. But Bob McCool's call was great. And he was as astonished as we were. I remember being in the end zone thinking, how did that just happen?
Right. Yeah, that was just a really great play.
All right, so that put Wilson up 42-10. That's where the game would eventually end. I believe at this point, with about 8 minutes to play, both teams put in backups and some JV guys to get some time for another game, Justin, where it's finally a comfortable lead. A little bit of a Wilson blowout, and the Wilson backups and JV go in, and they move the ball, or they stop Mifflin here from moving the ball. So they eventually forced a punt. 6 plays, 13 yards, 3:50 off the clock, though, for the Mustang offense on that drive. And then the Bulldogs backups and JV players take over with about 4 minutes to play in the game, and they just run the clock out. So Tyler Ulrich looking good running, Cole Peterson directing the huddle, and eventually got to take a knee, victory formation. Yep. Bulldogs claim the Gursky-Lin Trophy.
Yeah, it was, like we said, defense kind of, that first drive, it wasn't one thing. It just, Mifflin was able to get enough yards on first down and second down to make third downs manageable. But after that first drive, the defense adjusted and was there. The offense, I can understand why it may have seemed like, oh man, it's a little difficult to get in rhythm because they weren't giving themselves the chance to get in rhythm because they were scoring on so quick plays. The first series you get the ball, okay, one play and score. All right, well, that's great. We love it, but you weren't really able to establish your rhythm there. And then they did that multiple times. And again, it's a good problem to have. We're struggling to establish our rhythm because we're scoring so quickly.
Yeah.
Is a good problem to have.
It is a good problem to have.
But I can understand how that can lead to sometimes if you have a mishap here or something like that, it can happen. But offense looked pretty good. Defense looked pretty good. It was a good effort all around.
Absolutely. So we're going to run through some individual statistics here before we give our player of the game, listen to an interview, and then preview Hempfield. But Carell Akings led the way in terms of rushing attempts. He had 11 carries for 73 yards, the touchdown that we showed you from Paul Roberts. Monty Greer and Mason Young each had 6 carries, with Monty netting 54 yards and a touchdown. Mason ended up with 20 yards. on the ground, and then Tyler Ulrich had 3 carries for 16 yards. Passing, Mason Young was 7 of 10 for 234 yards and 4 touchdowns. I did not get to check Lancaster Online to see where he ranks in the LL now,
right?
But he was near the top in terms of passing touchdowns.
And I believe Jaden Carpenter might lead the league in receiving touchdowns right now. Sorry.
Yeah, so he was tied at the top, and he got another one.
Right.
So he may still be tied at the top, or he could be by himself, but I think he's up to 7 on the year already?
I think he is. And I don't remember if I read that Saturday or if I read that today. So, I don't know if that included other game. I don't know. So, but I know he's at or near the top. So,
and you heard Justin talk about, how we were a little at times frustrated with the offense on the drives that didn't result in scores, which is kind of a ridiculous thing. You're not going to score every drive.
Right. And however, we scored 42 points.
Right. But also, you mentioned it, they weren't giving themselves time to get in a rhythm because they were scoring so quickly. Look, Mason had 7 completions the entire game. He threw for 234 yards.
Right.
On 7 completions.
Well, I think at halftime he was 5 for 5 or something like that. And 3 of them were for touchdowns. Something absurd. It was just
2 passes alone went to Mike Glover for 101 yards and a score.
Right,
Eli
if
Dean,
you were to talk about efficiency,
right? Yeah, through the roof. Eli Dean had 2 for 28 and a touchdown, and then Damian 64-yard touchdown, Jaden Carpenter 31-yard touchdown, and then Niemba and Yutz each had a catch from Cole Peterson, who was a perfect 2 for 2 for 32 yards, and Carell actually had a reception of the backfield as well for 10 yards. Defensively speaking, I feel like you probably know what name is at the top of the Wilson tackles list,
and never more than in a week like this.
Right.
Where you're getting a team running the ball. Yeah.
Well, we saw him stand out against Plymouth Whitemarsh a year ago, lead the team with double-digit tackles, and E.J. Brownback has already been player of the game twice this year for us, although I think his pick 6 had a lot to do with those decisions. He didn't get a pick 6 here, so I'm disappointed with his play against Mifflin, not getting a pick 6. It's kind of something we've become accustomed to, EJ. So you're gonna have to Hempfield coming up. We're gonna need to see you in the end zone again. But Brownback led the team in tackles again with 10, half of which were for a loss. Braden Farrell from his outside linebacker spot had a big game as well, 6.5 from him, and then Mike Glover next, 6 tackles on the game, half for loss. And then Matthew Wyatt, we mentioned, he had 5.5 tackles from his linebacker spot, 1.5 of which for loss. We mentioned Carell Akings had an interception. He had a pass breakup. Jaden Carpenter had a pass breakup. Cole Peterson broke up a pass, and Aiden Harmon had the fumble recover on special teams. So
and I looked at that. So I was talking to one of the defensive coaches after the game, and he was like, "Oh, do you have the stats?" And I did. He's like, "Do you have the defensive?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, how do they look?" I said, "Well, I think 4 out of your top 5 tacklers are your linebackers, and that's what you want." And then the next one was, if you go 5 out of 6, it includes Chase Herb, who is not at all a surprise there, and is going to be coming up and flying up and making tackles too. And I'm just like, that's it. If you asked me, how would the defensive stats reflect if we had a positive outcome there, I that's how I would draw it up. Lots of linebacker, the D line taking up the blockers, and the linebackers cleaning it up, and that's exactly what the stats reflect. And if you watch the game, that's how it played out too.
Yep, absolutely. So once again, it felt like it was difficult for our player of the game. There probably were multiple locations or individuals we could have picked for this. However, we are going to double down on this one, just like we did last week where we selected players of the game. And one of them is going to be a repeat, I think our first back-to-back, and it is our senior quarterback, Mason Young. This time, the connection is with junior tight end defensive end Michael Glover here for the Bulldog Hour players of the game. Mason was, as you just heard us say, 7 of 10 for 234 yards and 4 touchdowns, 6 rushes for 20 yards. Big Mike Glover had 2 catches for 101 yards and a touchdown, and then 6 tackles on defense from his defensive end spot. So he was a menace on the field once again. Mason gets it on back-to-back weeks. Michael Glover also coming back again to be a player of the game. He was our first player of the game this season against Cheltenham. So, hey, you need your big-time players to step up in big-time games, and that's just what these two did. Not to mention, it was a great game all around statistically for a lot of these guys.
Right.
We just mentioned Brownback. We talked about how many times Herb made a big play to save a touchdown, prevent them from getting points on the board. And we ended up going with Young and Glover here. So back-to-back weeks with 2 players of the game, but I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's now get to, well, obviously, most important thing is us stealing the trophy. That is us pictured there. There was a chance, Justin, we thought maybe we were going to walk away with the trophy because there was no one else around. We were the only people left in the stadium, and we were like, well, what do we do with this?
Right.
We found it at home. It was not here in the Bulldog Hour studio as there had been discussions about, but we did get to hang out with the trophy,
and then you
as
just
we
were
like to
responding
do.
and being like, what trophy?
Yeah, right. Wait, there was a trophy? What are you talking about? All right, so we do have an interview. We have an interview with Mason Young. However, it is not our own. We were pretty busy on the field after the game. A lot of the players wanted pictures with the Gursky Lynn trophy. So I was busy doing that, and by the time we wrapped up with that, a lot of the players had vacated, and even the coaches had. Well, like I said, we were kind of the last people. We had to hit the lights as we exited, so to say. But Paul Roberts is kind enough to let us air his interview with Mason Young, and Paul always has a great time interviewing these student athletes. So we're going to highlight his interview with his permission, and let's listen to Paul Roberts talk to Mason Young after Wilson's 42-10 victory over the Mustangs.
Mason, describe to people how big the rivalry is with Governor Mifflin.
It's a huge rivalry. Growing up, watching since I was a kid, just watching these games and seeing how big the intensity was, and it's awesome to finally play in after sitting these 2 years and watching Tommy and Maddox play, and it's finally our time to play.
The start of the game, they muffed the kickoff, and then you hit Carpenter right off the bat. 15 seconds in, you're up 7-0. How important was it to jump out early?
I think it was very important because they're a wing T offense. They run the ball maybe 90% of the time, so they'll hold the ball for maybe like six minutes, right? So it's definitely huge to get a lead. They received the ball. They won the toss and they received the ball. So I think their game plan going into the game was hold the ball and keep the ball out of our hands. And that was a great kick by Eli. I don't know, and a great recovery, and it was huge.
6 different players scored touchdowns for you guys tonight.
Wow.
What's it like having all these weapons?
It's great. It was Eli. It's great. They're huge bodies. Mike, obviously, and Eli's a great player. Caro's a great player. They're all great players. Monty. They're all good. It's fun. It's really fun.
There was a Temple coach here to see Mike. What's it like to have such a big tight end there that you can kind of just throw it up to him and let him go make a play?
It makes it like really safe for you. When you throw, it's either him or the sideline, and you just put it up for him. He's a big body, like I said, and you just get the ball up for him. He's gonna make a play.
And then you have both Greer brothers. How are they coming along?
Damien, he's young. He's doing a great job. I haven't really seen it since Monty was really a freshman, his freshman year. So they're both playing really well. Monty had a touchdown. He was running the ball hard. They're both playing great.
And what's the relationship like with Carpenter? Last season he didn't get a whole lot of passes thrown his way, but this year it seems like he's becoming the #1 guy.
Growing up, we've been friends for a long time, since Lincoln Park. I remember the first time I met him. He was a really quiet kid. He's always been fast, and just going into the season, he had a great track season. 10-7, 100 time.
Wow.
So it's put the ball up for him. Let him go get it. He's great. He's really great.
And the defense did a good job too. What can you say about their effort?
It was great. They held him to 10 points. That's all you can really ask for from your defense. Yeah.
Not many high school quarterbacks get to work with a coach who's won Super Bowls.
Yeah.
What's it like, spending time with Chad Henne?
I mean, he's great. When we're in film, he calls stuff out. I mean, he's really good to have. He's a mentor. When I come off the sideline, maybe a bad ball or an interception like I had tonight, I mean, he's always there to pick you up. I mean, he's a great player. He sat behind Patrick Mahomes, which not a lot of people really get to say. So, I mean, it's really great to have him here as a mentor.
Who are your favorite quarterbacks in the NFL?
I like Lamar Jackson. Patrick Mahomes is cool. I like him. He's really cool. That's a good question.
What about your favorite team?
I like the Eagles.
You do?
Yeah, I do.
How far are they going to go?
I think they can go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
They won it last year.
Yeah.
So you're a Jalen Hurts guy?
Yeah, I like him. I like his style. He's cool.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wawa or Sheets?
Wawa. Definitely Wawa.
It didn't take you long to answer that.
Yeah.
Who's going to win the whiteout? Penn State or Oregon?
Gotta go Penn State. I gotta go Penn State.
Favorite teachers at Wilson?
I like Mr. Brooks from forensics. He's really cool. He always comes in with a smile on his face. I mean, you can always have conversations with him. And then, of course, Coach Palm, who's the...
Yeah, you better mention him.
Yeah.
If you don't, you'll be running the ball every time.
Yeah. So Coach Palm, yeah, it's always cool to see him in the school. We always say hi. You know, yeah.
Who's the one player on your defense you would not want to be hit by?
Probably Mel. He's a big hitter.
Yeah.
Also Ethan Harding. They're both pretty big hitters.
Brownback's pretty tough too.
Yeah. I mean, I'd probably say all of them.
Yeah.
They're all great. Yeah.
If you won the lottery, what's the first thing you would buy?
That's a good question.
Car?
No. Keep it safe. Invest.
That's smart. Wow.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Yeah.
All right. Well, congratulations and good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
All right. So once again, we thank Paul Roberts for allowing us to share his interview with Wilson quarterback Mason Young, our co-player of the game for the victory over Mifflin. I like Paul's interviews that he posts because after he talks about the game and the team, he always asks a couple questions. You know, like sometimes it'll be about video games or music. I appreciate the questions about the teachers that the student athletes have. I don't know that Justin and I want to talk about the whiteout question, although Mason had the correct answer in our eyes and in our hearts. Wasn't meant to be, but that's all we're going to say about that. Other than that, Michael Glover was up there as a guest of Penn State football for the game as well on a recruiting visit. So obviously we wish that had gone a different direction. But enough about college football. Let's stay in the realm of high school football.
Please.
And now shift our focus to Game 7, Bulldogs at Black Knights, Georgelis Law Firm Stadium this Friday, October 3rd. The Knights are coming off a victory over the Penn Manor Comets, their own rivalry game with a trophy. And I have been talking to a few of their coaches, congratulated them on that victory because, Justin, as I know you know, but I'll let everyone know now, I will not be taking pictures at this game on Friday.
How dare you?
It is the first Wilson game that I'm not taking pictures at in a long time. But it's not because I won't be there.
Right,
I will be there.
You're just working the game in another mode.
Yeah, so I have been asked to be one of the commentators on the BNB Media flagship network game broadcast. So if you enjoy hearing me on this show, hopefully you will enjoy hearing me talk during the football game on Friday night. So we will get things going on flagship network probably about 6:45 or so. I'll be on the call with Max Gretzula, who I worked with at the Reading Raptors games in the spring. It was a lot of fun, and they asked me to come on the Wilson game. They did warn me this is a non-biased production.
What are they going to do? Pull you from the air?
So I said I
just double down.
I do my best to be more like Kirk Herbstreit on the college calls than Merrill Reese on the Eagles calls.
I don't know that that's a good thing. I'm kidding. I love Kirk. I also love Merrill, but I understand the task you have been given.
Yeah, so I'm going to try to keep things level. Can't favor any
Do you get
team.
to take a dog with you? 'Cause that would
Right,
be
yeah.
pretty cool.
Well, can I take one of my cats? It'll be October. My black cat would probably fit in
That
with the theme and the ambiance.
And to be honest, of the cats, I think Forrest is the one more likely to enjoy a football game.
Well, he would just be, who are these new people? Can I go hang out with these people?
Lucy would not be
she
pleased.
would be hidden. No. So yeah, I am not taking photos. Phil Macaronis will be taking photos, and we will have images from the game. It just will not be of my own. And I asked Phil to do that for me by the recommendation of his stats mate, Joe Peterson. So Phil will be photographing the game, and I'll be having his photos so I can do, all the images, all the graphics that we do. Didn't want to miss a game. Want to make sure we had it covered. So Phil will be filling in there, and I will be in the booth. Flagship Network, you can find on YouTube. It's a free broadcast, so don't have to worry about tracking down a weird location, a weird site, or something you have to pay for. It is free on Flagship Network's YouTube, and we will have a multicam set up following the Hempfield Wilson game from Landisville on Friday evening. So, what do we have to say about the Black Knights and the game against the Bulldogs this Friday? We talked that Hempfield just won a game. They beat Penn Manor, so that's great. They did lose to Mifflin a few weeks ago, 20-19. I believe Hempfield's, are they also 2-4? I'm trying to think. I can't remember all the games that they've played to date. Let me pull up the LancasterOnline.com website with the standings throughout the LL and double check on that. So Hempfield is
Family-owned five-star company here in Lancaster County. We can't be that company without five-star partners.
I appreciate that coming on. Not sure where it came from. But, so Hempfield is 2-1 in league, 3-3 overall. So they have won 3 games so far this year, including the most recent one against Penn Manor. They started the season with a home win against Dallastown, 16-7. They then went for a close game to York William Penn. They dropped that one 22-16. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that was an overtime loss.
I believe so.
For the Black Knights. And I think they're actually leading that game late in the fourth quarter and gave up a big touchdown to York William Penn to force overtime and then lost in overtime 22-16. They then went to Governor Mifflin on September 5th, lost that game. We mentioned already 20-19. Mifflin blocked a Hempfield field goal at the buzzer. Then they were able to defeat McCaskey in Landisville 56-6 before hosting Manheim Township, and the Blue Streaks beat the Black Knights 35-13 on September 19th. And then at Christ Field at Beamsdorfer Stadium, Millersville University, the Black Knights got to take their rivalry game trophy against the Comets, and I hope someone visited the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Take advantage of the location. But Hempfield evens their record at 3-3 with that win, 2-1 in the league on the season. So if they want to make some noise and really disrupt things, beating the Bulldogs Friday night would go a long way towards doing that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those where they, they've had some ups and downs, but they've had some close ones. And I know you and I, again, we really think highly of Coach Ager, and with that being said, we know that Hempfield will be prepared. They're going to give you a good shot. They always seem to play us tough, and especially play us tough there. You look back 2 years ago, that was a game that it felt like Wilson was in control, but they couldn't put it away.
No, could not stop.
And it was, and those games are always just like one big play away from trouble. Yep. And so you got to make sure you're in a spot where you can, do the things that you have control over and handle your business, and then you can hopefully, have the game end in a spot where it's a favorable outcome for you. But if you don't handle your business, if you go in unprepared, or you go in thinking, oh well, we should be fine, then it'll be tough. So
absolutely. So the big names to listen to on the Hempfield side of things, biggest one is their quarterback, Derek Catch. He is their big-time playmaker on offense. He is their leading passer. He has 145 attempts so far this year. He's completing almost 65% of his passes. He's thrown for over 1,000 yards, actually over 1,100 yards already. He has 10 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. He is a guy to pay attention to. He's also, in terms of attempts, their leading rusher as well. So they like to keep the ball in his hands to run or pass. He has 40 attempts, only 99 yards, which is just under 2.5 yards per carry and 1 touchdown. But of course, sacks count against his rushing total. So I'm sure it's higher than that if you would take the sacks away. In terms of rushing yards, Ethan Caldwell is the big rusher for them. He's tied with Matt Talbot in terms of the number of attempts at 28. But Caldwell has 158 yards total, which is over 5.6 yards per carry. And he has 3 rushing touchdowns to Matt Talbot's 4. So Caldwell, Catch, and Talbot on the ground have scored 8 touchdowns. Cam Rice has gotten in the end zone twice. But really after Catch, the next one to know is his go-to receiver. And boy, is he a go-to receiver.
Yes.
In 6 games, Orion Abrams has 46 receptions, which is almost 8 per game.
Yeah.
8 catches per game almost for Orion Abrams, and he has 578 yards, averaging nearly 100 yards a game, and 6 touchdowns. So he is averaging a touchdown catch a game. So Catch to Abrams is the big matchup or offensive playmakers to pay attention to for the Black Knights. And I'm sure Coach Wolber, his defensive assistants, worked all weekend to figure out what are they going to do to stop Catch and Abrams and force them to not necessarily be one-dimensional, but maybe move away from things that they're really successful at, and that is throwing the ball. They have been a very pass-heavy team. I know they ran the ball much better against Penn Manor this past week, but through the first 5 weeks of the season, it had been a pass-heavy offense from Coach Eager's team.
And if it's like in years past, and I have not seen any of their games this year, but if it's like in years past, they like a lot of those timing routes, where they, the outs and things like that, and kind of just hit those passes, and it sure seems like they have a connection that's working there. Catch to Abrams.
Yeah, Zion Caban also has 22 catches for 257 yards and 3 touchdowns. PJ Poole has the other touchdown reception. He has 11 catches on the year. So that is the Black Knights. Pretty decent offense. Catch to Abrams is definitely the one to pay attention to. That has been the thing that would keep Hempfield in their games earlier. The win against Dallastown, the tough game against York, keeping it close against Mifflin, big win against McCaskey, and this week against Penn Manor. So Catch and Abrams, definitely remember those names. And as the evenings this week, I'll be preparing for the broadcast more. I'll know a lot more about the Black Knights by the time Friday rolls around. And we're in Landisville for the Black Knights Bulldogs showdown, Game 7 of the 2025 Pennsylvania high school football season, and another Lancaster Lebanon League Section 1 showdown. Now, we're not going to talk about it this week. I did post it already before we get out of here, Justin, the power ratings and my projections. I know a lot of people were curious about, why was Wilson finishing 4th in my projections? I'll say it here, and I kind of alluded to it in the post I made. In that scenario, I did have Wilson winning out and finishing 9-1. I know a lot of people that figured that out were saying, well, how could we be behind Manheim Township if we're going to beat Manheim Township?
Well, opponent strength.
Every year we talk about this, that it's not just about wins, losses, and head-to-head results.
It has helped us.
It has
this
helped
year.
us.
It is not.
It's not helping us this year. So years ago, when Wilson's opponents in the non-league slate were really, really strong and having good years, it helped catapult us above Manheim Township, who had beaten us. Right. However, I think at least once or twice since then, it's happened around the league or around the district to other teams, and it's frustrating. How can you be behind a team that you beat head-to-head? It's just the way the power ratings work, and that is another thing.
Math is math.
That's another thing that's happening here. Now, it was close, the 3-4 between Wilson and Township in my projections. So,
Right.
one of our teams steals a win or wins a game that I didn't expect them to win. The opponents,
Right.
that'll help us and could catapult us to the 3 line.
Right.
I don't see, without Harrisburg or Central York losing a game in the regular season, which I don't see happening, the 1 or 2 is out of the question.
Right.
So you're really trying to get the 3 or 4 spot, get as many home games as possible. And maybe give yourself a better matchup in the semifinals.
Right.
Should you make it there after the quarters?
What you should be wanting to happen is you want Mifflin to be winning games. I know that's sacrilegious to say on this show, not on this show, but like in our minds. But that's what you need Mifflin to win a couple games here down the stretch. What you need Cheltenham to win some games here down the stretch. You need PW has won some games. They need to win some more down the stretch. Like you need those teams to win some games. Nazareth won this week. They lost 2 weeks ago to Parkland. That was probably going to be a loss no matter what. They're down. Falzone is out, but they got to win this week. Like you need them to keep winning. Like that. All of those things, the teams we've played so far, we want to win. The league games are essentially a wash.
Yeah,
because
doesn't matter.
One of your opponents is going to win, one is going to lose.
Yep.
They're essentially a wash. And just the other key point, all of them are already counted in. So the fact that we have not played McCaskey yet
doesn't matter,
or Penn Manor yet
doesn't matter.
Does not matter.
Right. It's already in the calculations that you see on the website. Those are already the only thing that isn't included is your win. All the results of all the other teams are included, and that you're going to eventually play them is included. So just because you can't say, oh, well, we're going to get worse because we're going to play Penn Manor McCaskey, that's already included.
Right.
So the what you see on PIAAD3.org on their power ratings includes all that. All that matters is your win and loss right now, and then the wins and loss of those teams as they go on. You not having played a good or bad team yet doesn't impact the calculations.
Right. It's already
don't get confused by that. It all matters on the individual results.
Yep.
So we need Mifflin to maybe upset someone that we wouldn't expect them to beat.
Right.
Same thing with Cheltenham. Same thing with Nazareth. All those Plymouth Whitemarsh. We need these teams to get hot to boost our rating over the course of the last 4 weeks of the season. And you got to take care of your own business. That's all that really matters.
And that's the only part that we control. Right? That's the only part we control is winning our remaining games. Because guess what? Like you said, that had us winning out.
Yeah.
Well, we got to win out then, right?
Right.
To give yourself a shot.
For us to even be
right.
close to the 3 or set at the 4 and in that top 4, which is important,
right,
you have to win out.
There's a big difference between 4 and 5.
Right, yeah. Right. You're on the road. So we have to win out to put us in a position to possibly get up as high as the 3 seed. And for the projections, I did have us beating Manheim Township. It's at home. It's senior night. We beat them last year. I feel like we're moving in the direction that we absolutely can beat them this year. So I have us at 9-1, and that would get us the 4 seed behind Manheim Township for the reasons that we just mentioned. So a lot of football left to be played. And heck, maybe when I run the results from Friday and Saturday this week, maybe it'll be different.
Right.
I don't know.
And again, some of it factors in all these other games, like every team they've played and all that stuff.
For this projection that I just posted at the end of this week, I had to predict 5 games for like 45 or 50 teams. I was predicting 250 results.
Right.
Now, I know some are the same reciprocal result,
Right.
but I was predicting a lot of games. So every week that I have to predict less, it'll become more and more clear what's going to happen. But obviously, we don't know anything until all the games are played. But I know people like to look at it. Some people say it's too early to talk about playoffs. I posted that in the Instagram story.
I saw.
But so there you have it. So that's it for episode 12 here of the Bulldog Hour's 11th season. We thank everyone for supporting us and tuning in. And as I mentioned, you can hear from me already on Friday night as the in-studio broadcast analyst with Max Gritzula on play-by-play, courtesy of Brandon Faust and BNB Media and Flagship Network. Tune in on YouTube to watch live the Bulldogs take on the Hempfield Black Knights down in Landisville at Georgelis Law Firm Stadium. But I think that's it for us tonight.
Yep.
Anything to say?
No.
All right. Well, congratulations to the Bulldogs for hoisting the Gursky Lynn Trophy once again and beating the Mifflin Mustangs 42-10. So for Justin Raffoff and the entire Wilson football team, until next time, remember, go Bulldogs.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Bulldog Hour. Want more Wilson football? Follow the show on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and SoundCloud, or visit www.bulldoghour.com. The Bulldog Hour is a featured program on jmnjrradio.com.